Good morning and welcome to the show. Thanks for waking up with us. This morning I've got JT, or James Thompson. He's a nutritionist at Nation's Best Family Healthcare, and we're going to talk a little bit about obesity today. It's a big problem, isn't it, JT?
It's a big problem and growing, no pun intended.
Yeah, obesity is growing, a growing problem. Yeah,
it gets worse every year, and from say the 60s and 70s to 80s, it was increasing by incremental amounts of 5 to 10%, and from early 2000 to 2006, 2007, it quadrupled, and then it's done it again. So we're looking at about close to 40% are morbidly obese.
What are we doing wrong?
It's
increasing.
A combination of diet and exercise.
Is it?
Yeah.
So we're just getting lazier and
it's
more gluttonous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sugar and the saturated fat is doing a considerable amount of it. They're two things that we don't need. You know,
Yeah.
The saturated fat serves no purpose, and the sugar really doesn't either.
Wow. And I drink a lot of coffee, and I take sugar in it. So you're telling me that the sugar is not doing any benefit for me, really? Maybe gives me a quick energy boost, perhaps? Especially in the morning. I know you people out there are drinking coffee with sugar in it.
A lot do. And I would urge you to go toward, Splenda or Truvia or Stevia or one of those, contrary to the scares that are out there. It doesn't cause cancer.
Oh, geez, yeah. And that's the other thing. You darn if you do and damn if you don't. And, what do you put in your coffee, or should you just give it up at all? I mean, if you want to have any quality of life, you want to eat tasty food. You want to feel satisfied after you're eating. After you eat, do you have to be like do you have to live like a monk? Do you have to, be on a starvation diet? Got to become a vegetarian? I mean, what does it take?
I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that people have in their head. The term diet has been used and abused so much that diet doesn't mean what we eat anymore. Diet is misery and pills and
special regimen.
Yes. Eating clean, that we've talked about before when I was here.
And just for people who may have missed that, what is eating clean?
Eating clean, in my opinion, is void of sugar and saturated fat. You can start to watch your salt if your blood pressure is high, and you can start to come down the list. But if there were two big things that you did, it would be to eliminate sugar and saturated fat. Of course, increasing your water, and we can continue down the list. But the use of sugar and saturated fat is really pointless. I mean, your body it has no use for the human body at all.
Really,
we
sugar
do not,
at all?
Sugar at all. It will use it, but it doesn't need it.
Now, there are different types of sugars, too. Are there good sugars and bad sugars? Or
there are sugars that don't elicit as bad of a response, such as fructose, as do some of the others. But at the end of the day, no. Sugar's sugar. Your body doesn't care. It will store it all the same. It will use it all the same. And it will all become body fat if it's used in excess.
And salt, that's another thing that's really hard to avoid. I mean, salt is in everything.
And sugar is, too.
Yeah, I guess it is, especially in prepared foods or processed foods.
It's what makes things taste good.
Yeah.
Sugar and saturated fat make things taste good. And
I saw a thing on National Geographic with these little snow monkeys were eating these potatoes, and they would take these potatoes and they dip them in the salt water as seasoning. So even little monkeys like tasty potatoes. I mean, they like their salt.
And we need it. Yeah. We need,
a certain amount of it.
We do. We need a certain amount of that, but we don't need a certain amount of sugar, and we don't need a certain amount of saturated fat. Those two things could be eliminated from the planet tomorrow, and we'd all be so much better off.
Wow.
Your body, the little bit of saturated fat or cholesterol that your body uses, the bad stuff, the lousy or the LDL,
right.
Your body actually manufactures that small amount that it uses, and it's for cellular function and some different things, but it manufactures a small amount it needs. Ingesting any saturated fat is pointless and dangerous.
Really? Wow, that's amazing. So there's the LDLs and the HDLs, and the way that was explained to me was that this happy and lousy.
That's a good way to remember it. People get them confused all the time, but the happy or the high density lipoproteins are smaller fragments. Almost think about it as for all the hunters and everyone out there, buckshot. It's little small pieces that break up the lousy or the low density lipoproteins and keep that stuff broken up. You get oil and water doesn't mix. Your blood is water based. The grease or oil or cholesterol has to move through your bloodstream. So,
well, JT, we got to run off to the local weather, but let's talk about what people can do at home to eat a little healthier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you want to take it to the next level, maybe how they can get in touch with you and
sure.
how you could design a diet.
You got it.
Yeah, thanks for waking up with us. You're watching Waking Up with Don. And now off to your local weather, brought to you by the West Pittman Law Firm. westpittmanlawfirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I'm speaking with JT from Nation's Family Healthcare, Nation's Best, actually. And you're a colleague of Dr. Nation's up here in Lynn Haven, and you are the nutritionist, the in-house nutritionist there.
Right.
Now, we were talking about all the bad things about salt and sugar and how you should try to cut that out of your diet. What can people do? I mean,
start to look at labels would be the first thing that I'd tell people to do. I think the biggest misunderstanding that everyone has that I talk to is what's a protein, what's a carb, and what's a fat. You know, peanut butter and beans are probably the two biggest that I get coined as protein and that most people would call protein, and they're not. Peanut butter would be considered a fat, and beans are certainly considered a carbohydrate. Just because it has a little bit of protein in it doesn't make it a protein.
You know, see, you just, you know.
And it's everybody.
I thought beans were protein. I thought that, that's pure protein.
Beans have protein, but now we're starting to get into a plant-based protein versus an animal-based protein. And when you're talking about lean muscle mass, nitrogen balance, and all the things that are required in order for your body to burn body fat and use, body fat for energy instead of glycogen or burn muscle or whatnot, sugar's got to be very limited. I mean, we don't need it. Complex carbohydrates, eventually you're going to turn to sugar either way.
But where do you get your protein from without consuming a lot of fat? Are we talking like chicken, fish, and no red meat? Or
No,
can you have red meat? Or?
The red meat's fine. And I say fine in moderation. It does, we're talking about saturated fat. And if we take sugar and saturated fat and we were to be just very curt and put them in two categories, sugar is going to make you obese. Saturated fat's going to kill you. That's going to be the heart disease. You can get away with eating more saturated fat and still be lower in body fat or leaner or smaller, but be unhealthy on the inside. So
moderation, is that what I'm hearing? Moderation with the red meat?
Everything.
I mean, so what's your main source of protein?
Chicken, turkey, tuna, steak, lean ground beef, filet, whitefish, salmon, grouper, orange roughy, tilapia, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, protein bars, whey protein shakes. I mean,
Greek yogurt. That's surprising. My wife is big on that.
Greek yogurt.
Yeah. Well, so you could actually, from that list of proteins, you got 3 meals a day, right there, without having a cheeseburger.
That's right.
I mean, but you can still have an occasional cheeseburger.
It doesn't, and again, in moderation, it doesn't hurt you. I'm not going to tell you that I don't ever do it, or don't ever have pizza or the key lime pie that I love and the things like that. Eating clean doesn't mean that you should live the rest of your life in a place where you don't taste sugar or have anything, at the family reunion or Thanksgiving or Christmas or the cookies that grandma sends and things like that. I mean, nobody wants to live like that. I mean, the folks that do that are the athletes that I work with, the Olympic athletes, the pro bodybuilders, figure fitness competitors, the folks that have a paycheck or a trophy on the line.
Yeah.
And they do it because of that, not because they want to.
I see. JT, is everybody the same, or do different people have different capacities to absorb sugars and fats and cholesterol and stuff?
Good question. And
do we all have the
different.
same baseline or not?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we could look at the statistics of obesity in the United States, for instance, and we're up to pretty close to 40%. That's based on height-weight ratios, and according to height-weight ratios, I'd be morbidly obese at 5'9", 230, regardless of what my waist size is or my body fat is.
Yeah.
It's just a number.
Because nobody would look at you and say, "Oh, here comes an obese guy." I mean,
no,
right? I mean,
no. But if I was 23 years old at my exact stats, I couldn't get in the military.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Because of the height, weight.
Life insurance was very difficult to get.
So what's the measurement then? That's just a rule of thumb. That
body fat.
Body fat. So you got to do like a body fat index type deal.
If you wanted to check body fat, you can. Rarely do I actually pinch and do skin fold measurements and take body fat. You can look and tell about what it is, but it's the overall percentage of body fat that you have that we're talking about. And that's, if it's high on the outside, it's high on the inside too. We've got a visceral fat around all of our organs, which a small amount is needed as a cushion. So things don't bounce around in there, but when it becomes excess on the outside, it's excess on the inside too. Ooh. And we're talking about hard for your,
So fat is through and through. When you've got all that fat around your heart and things like that.
Very much so.
It's not a good thing to do. JT, how do people get in touch with you if they want to figure out a diet that's right for them?
They can call the office at Nation's Best Healthcare on 77, and or They can see me on Facebook at facebook.com/jt.nutritionist.
JT.nutritionist.
Yes. Or they can call my cell direct and set an appointment at 850-276-5343.
JT Thompson, thanks so much for coming on the show and getting us smart on nutrition.
You got it, man. Thank you very much.
All right. And we'll be right back after your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hi, this is David Lovett, and this is your Mad Hatter Minute. The engine coolant can be best described as the lifeblood of the motor. Antifreeze, also known as engine coolant, is a fluid that helps maintain optimal engine temperatures, and it has to be changed from time to time. Keeping your antifreeze fresh is very important. Over time, the inhibitors in the antifreeze that keep your car from overheating start to break down and lose their properties, and that's when problems begin. First, the obvious. Your vehicle is likely to overheat, especially in the summertime. The extreme heat created by the engine combined with the extreme outside temperatures can result in an overheating condition which can cause some serious damage to your motor. Secondly, in wintertime, your car is not protected from the cold. Freezing temperatures can cause the coolant inside your vehicle to freeze and expand, which could crack your engine block. Lastly, a condition known as electrolysis can form. Your vehicle actually generates electricity. Your engine is protected by the inhibitors in the engine coolant. When the inhibitors begin to break down, your protection is lost, and your engine block starts to corrode from the inside out. You have to change your engine coolant in accordance to your manufacturer's recommendation. Most vehicles today have extended life coolant, which means that the coolant can go for 100,000 miles. Check your owner's manual or ask a trusted auto repair facility when you should have your coolant exchanged. I am David Lovett, and that has been your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hey folks, this is Joshua Brown with Mad Hatter on 23rd Street. Is your check engine light on? If it is, text MADHAT28, that's MADHAT28, to 24247.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Aaron Shores from Spine and Neuropain Specialists here in Panama City. Welcome back to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
Happy New Year and happy 2015.
I know. I can't believe it.
I mean, time marches on.
It does.
It's pretty amazing how quickly the years are seeming to click by. But one thing that remains constant is your patient load. I mean, you've opened a new office.
Correct.
Up in Mariana now. Mm-hmm. So you're a man who's got to be everywhere. Chipley, Panama City, Mariana.
Correct.
And you know, as the years march on, you still have people who are in pain who go to you for relief. I understand that you've got a couple of pretty new technologies, and one that's kind of unique to this area, and that's that platelet-rich plasma. I know we talked about it a little on a previous show, but could you explain to the audience what that might mean?
Sure. Platelet-rich plasma is I think a great therapy. It's what we call a biologic therapy, meaning we use a person's own blood to treat them. So what we do in the office is we draw blood out of their arm, just if they were going to give blood anyway.
And how much do you need to take to do that?
A vial, a little bit more than a vial or two, like you would give if you were going to get blood checked for your primary doctor. And we spin it down in a centrifuge in the office, and it concentrates the plasma, which is the portion of the blood that has all the healing factors in it. So we can inject that in certain parts of the body for folks that have various tendinitis or bursitis or different joints and aches and pains around the body. And we inject their own cells, their own blood, right into that area. And it has, you know, the healing factors are concentrated 10 or 15-fold above normal. And when we inject it into the area, then the body basically helps heal itself.
That's pretty amazing.
So you don't have the side effects of steroid and some of the other stuff that we use for injections in other areas. And sometimes it works very well. And in some instances, it have been able to help people stay off surgery, which is nice. So you hear a lot about this in the news for the celebrity athletes going to have this done so that they can continue to pitch or play football or whatever they do.
And it comes from your own blood, so it's kind of kind of safe. I mean, there's a safety factor. Maybe it's just psychological, but I'm sure there's a scientific reason for that.
No, absolutely. There is, and it's not like giving blood where you have to then freeze it and then come back and get it a different day. It's the same blood that you give right there. So the patients watch it, they see what you're doing right there in front of them if they choose to. Some don't want to, but if they can. So that I think gives a level of comfort to the patients that they know that they're getting their own blood and they're seeing exactly what's going on. But we've had a lot of success with it on treating various joint and musculoskeletal ailments and tendon issues all over the body.
Is that a very popular thing? I know you're talking about celebrity athletes doing it. Do regular people do that here in the Panhandle?
Absolutely, yeah. The most of my patient population are quote regular people that are here in the area that have a tendon issue or a plantar fasciitis issue or a a bursitis or something, and they want to be able to get out and continue to play golf or tennis or fish or whatever the folks do on the weekends or during their time off. So sometimes these patients have had a round or two of physical therapy, they've had a steroid injection or two, and they've been told that their only other option is surgery. And sometimes that is true, surgery is needed, but a lot of times this, the platelet-rich plasma can be a conservative measure, and we can have some good success with it.
That's such interesting stuff, and that's available at all three of your offices, wherever
Correct.
you go, Mariana, Chipley, or Panama
It
City.
is.
Now, you've also got this other thing that sounds kind of new age-ish, this electronic stimulation thing.
Correct. So
I'm sure that's the proper name. I just made that up.
That's right. So yeah, we're doing a new technique where we can actually place a small wire, almost invisible. It looks like a hearing aid, the new hearing aids that you can hardly see. It's a very thin wire, and we run it just around the little curve of a patient's ear, and it basically works off the same theories as acupuncture for those that believe in acupuncture. And there are current flows throughout the body, and a lot of those are based in the ear. So if someone has back pain, for example, or neck pain, or wherever they may hurt, we can position this little wire under the fold of the ear in such a way that it puts electricity into the ear and can help control the pain in different parts of the body. So we put it on, it's secured in place, and a patient will wear it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll take it off. And then that can provide them weeks of relief. Sometimes we have to repeat it every so many months, but it's a way to control pain with less medication, and it's not something that looks ugly and awful. It's even with our short haircuts, you could wear it and it would be not very noticeable, and certainly women with long hair or folks with long hair,
wouldn't see it at all.
You wouldn't see it at all. So we are having some success with that, and
that's such interesting stuff. So if we want to learn more about it, we could just give you a call.
Give us a call or go to our website. Absolutely.
Dr. Aaron Shores, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the show. I have a friend of the show here, Thomas Winterman. He's a published author and a certified
clinical counselor.
I always get that wrong. I'm so sorry, Thomas. But what's our Thrive tip for the week? This wonderful book, The Thrive Life, gives you tips on how to live a good life, or a more creative life perhaps, or a more constructive life, or more rewarding life in general. And there are some tips in there that can keep us going throughout the week. So here it is Monday. What's our tip for the week that'll get us through?
For this week, it's there is no tomorrow. And I am the king of making excuses for not starting something good for me, like working out. I'll be all excited about waking up at 5 a.m. and getting started and getting it going, and this will be like a Thursday. And I'll say, I'll start Monday. Monday would be a good day to get this started because it's the start of the week, it's brand new. Then Monday rolls around, doesn't happen.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm kind of a procrastinator myself, and maybe a lot of people are. You put things off like, no big rush, we can do that later.
Yeah.
Not a good habit.
No, it's a terrible habit. Or it'll be something like, I need to get some new running shoes before I start running. Or, I don't have the armband for my iPod, so I can't listen to music while I run. I'll put it off until I get that. The more we put things off, the less likely we are to do it. So day one, the day you think about it, the day you make a plan, get started. Get started on it because, truthfully, there is no tomorrow. Because once the next day comes, it's today, and then you'll say tomorrow again.
Yeah, so there really is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
Because if you make it really easy to say that, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow comes and you can do that again. It's just too easy for you.
If you've got the time to think about it and plan it, you've got the time to do it.
How has that helped you in your life, though? And how do you do that? If you're an undisciplined person, do you just have to find some inner strength to just suck it up?
You do, and it gives you some immediacy in your life. And the thing about exercising and working out is that tends to build positive momentum. And once you start going, your endorphins start going, your adrenaline starts moving a little bit. You find the motivation after you get started.
People talk a lot about going to the gym, but they don't actually go.
Yeah.
And I know just from personal experience, there's times when I was like, oh, geez, I have dragged myself into the gym. I didn't want to go. I was too tired, wasn't feeling right, the whole thing. But after the workout, I'm so glad I went.
Right.
You know?
Right. Nobody ever regrets a workout. 2 weeks later, you won't look back and think, well, geez, I really shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But that cheat meal that you had, you might look back a week later and think, oh, man, I am reaping what I sowed there.
So the tip of the week is there is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
There's no tomorrow. Don't procrastinate. Thomas Winterman, thanks so much for
Thank
that
you.
Thrive tip for your week, and we'll see you next time.